in the controls group out of Kennesaw, Georgia. So we'll talk a little bit about supervisory controllers, the only two new features with E3, kind of what we're doing with CO2, specific subject groups and things like that. Talk about case controllers, the CO2 high pressure controller, VFDs, leak detection for CO2, give you some information about CO2 startups, kind of good procedures, good things happen to get into. A lot of good things, Copeland applications and tools I gave you at the end. You know, the more tools you got, the easier it can be for you to, work the system, start up the system, commission, troubleshoot, things like that. Stop me at any time if you got any questions, any feedback. Your feedback is very valuable to us moving forward. What we can produce or what we can make or how we can make application software easier to your feedback. So, stop me if you got questions. I know all this stuff will be available for you guys. I know NSRC does a great job with giving you links and all the documentation that we use. So, and then if you need other additional information, feel free to reach out to me as well. We'll kind of go through this, like I said, stop me, make it. Let's correspond, let's ask questions, whatever. We're not in any hurry, so we're good to go. I know I got you after lunch, so you probably feel a little bit tired, so just stay awake and I'll give you a bonus at the end of the class. I'm going to keep you at 8th grade that you can take with you. I'll go in there, I'll let Brent introduce himself. We're kind of tag teaming this today and tomorrow, but Brent needs to introduce himself.
Brent Chair from Copeland. Been with the organization for 15 years. Working off the license, we're very small, different departments within Copeland, very family multi-control side, progression side as well. Most of my focus, Copeland is CO2 business, so anything to do with CO2 I'm involved in is about Copeland. Been around 10 years in the CO2. I started CO2 in Australia first. Moved up to the U.S. since the Northeast started to roll out CO2 since 2014. So right now my U.S. CO2 startup count is well over 400 sites. So including case controls and supervisory controls for both.
The things I've learned working with Brett on CO2, especially with startups, is don't leave anything unturned. Go through your procedures. Make sure you design, test every transducer. I've worked with some of you guys, I know Alex out here in the front, worked with him on starting very thorough.
It's all bad. I mean, about that later.
Yeah. So, let me go back a little bit one earlier. So what do our supervisory controllers do? They do everything: HVAC, refrigeration, lighting control, energy monitoring, energy metering, optimization. Everything is canned applications, plus you can write custom code if you want to, but basically all your applications are already in the controller. You just set them up depending on what your needs are. We've got two basic models. They both run the same software. A couple of different differences between the E3 and the site supervisor. The E3 was built as a drop-in replacement for the E2. I know probably most everybody here has worked on the E2, familiar with the E2, so we kind of built the E3 to be kind of a drop-in, easy replacement for the E2. We also have the site supervisor, which is smaller, gen-rail mounted. It can be mounted in different locations. It has some built-in I/O built into the controller. It can talk to some CAN bus, other I/O devices besides just multiplex ports. So just a couple of things, different features you've got there. Just a little bit of layout about network architecture. Just so you know, you can have E2s, E3, site supervisors all on the same network. So they can all share data, they can communicate, they can control different things in the system, and they can push that data to each other. You also can use or add what we call a site aggregator to aggregate data if you're going to be doing, like floor plans, system or plant graphics, things like that. So just making it, you know, a lot simpler where one controller isn't maintaining all the load and sharing all that information. You can add touch screens to the E3 or the site supervisor. We have several different options available from 10 to 21 inch screens. And you can connect with phones, tablets. Also, we have an enterprise software solution for multiple site applications. So just knowing that, you know, everything we've done with E3 compared to E2, everything is backwards compatible. So anything you can talk to with E2, you can talk to with E3. We're just trying to make it easy for you. And, you know, you don't have to change out everything in a system. If you just got to change out one point or you get a new rack or something like that with a different controller. And all of them talk, you know, communicate down, can do backnet Modbus to third-party devices as well. So we can pull in, you know, different manufacturers' controls as well as using some of our own systems. So a little bit of difference, you kind of see the E2 versus the E3 front screen. You've got the new touchscreen display, everything's touch, it's in color. You have the old E2, which everything was menu driven, black and white. Talk about some of the features and some of the tabs we can go to across the top, but everything's menu driven. You're never more than 3 clicks away in the V for your site supervisor from any application, any screen that you need to get to. So it makes it a lot more intuitive. A lot of things are built in. Standard as far as your custom tiles with different applications, whatever. I don't know if y'all can hear me in the background. I need the microphone or not. But, and then if you've got the network architecture that I showed earlier, we've got E2s and E3s. You can have what we call, when you put the site aggregator in, you could connect from controller to controller from the E3. So I could jump from an E2 that may be on a rack on this end of the building to an E3 that's on this side, or another one that's in a rack in a mechanical room. I could jump into terminal mode of any controller from the one screen, so it makes it a lot easier. So like I talked about, the E3 is a complete built-in as a drop-in replacement for the E2. So it has all the identical wiring holes. The enclosure fits into the same cutout, so the back plane is exactly the same size as it was in the E2. It has the same wiring holes, the same plugs for the COM loops. Everything is exactly the same. We've added an additional COM port for other devices, whether they're, you know, I/O boards, case controllers, whatever they may be. So you've got another option for COM ports. And then we've got additional Ethernet ports for screens, you know, local logins. The controller has a built-in web browser, so you don't need any other software to communicate to it. You just plug in and hit the IP of the controller. And there's 2 different IP addresses for the different ports. And I'll kind of give those to you in the slides. And the main thing is everything is backwards compatible with the multiplex and IO net ports. So you don't have to change out, if you just have to change a controller on a rack or a building controller in a building, you don't have to change out all the other pieces and parts. Technical specifications. For the controller, talked about the additional COM ports, Ethernet ports. You've got 2 USB ports on the controller that can be used for backing up programs, restoring programs to the firmware updates, pushing special requests or feature file load. So a lot of things you can do with the USB ports. Everything else, it uses the same power supply you had for the E2, so you don't even need to change that piece. Hardware enhancements, I won't go through all these, but showing you a little bit E2 hardware versus E3 hardware. The main thing is the E3 is 12 times faster processing power and held 16 times the memory that the E2 did. So you can store a lot more log data. Things, applications load, unload, you know, screen-to-screen communications, a lot of things are a lot faster versus the E2. And then a couple of things with applications that was built into the E2, the applications changed names. They didn't go away, but they did change names. Inside the controller, And I've got some in the back. I think I've got 3 controllers in the back. If y'all want to look at them, put your hands on them, maybe connect your phone to them out in the back. I've got one on our series and trainer. Then I got a couple other trainers set up that you can play with. Feel free to come back there and do that. Open up the door, kind of look at these things. But you can see everything in the back plane. This is, if you open up the door, this is on the back panel. So everything lays out just like it did with the E2. The on-off switch is in the same place. The COM ports, you'll see the new additional COM port as well. Communication lights, the termination jumpers. You can plug in a digital I/O card just like you could with the E2, and it's actually the same part you had on the E2. You got an Ethernet display, Ethernet port on the top left that connects to the port on the door. But like I said, everything is just the same earth ground, same power connection that you have. So when you're changing out an E3 versus an E2, just pull your plug wires off, your power wire off, pull the controller off, plug in the same ports. This is on the back door. You open up the door. These are the Ethernet ports on the back door, like I said. Everything's web-based. So there's the default IPs for each Ethernet port. And you can change those if you need to in the controller. And a lot of times we use Ethernet 0 as the building network or a cell network, whatever you may need to use to connect remotely into the store. And then Ethernet 1 is used for local connection like a display or your laptop if you have their service in the controller. Reset and clean out inside the door just like it had in the E2, same format. And then the ribbon cable that connects the controllers. So any questions on the controller so far? Looks like everybody's still awake, we're still doing good. So talk about communication protocols for CO2 specific devices. So when we talk about the CO2 system and how we want to manage it, I'll show you a quick little layout. So in the controller with the CO2 applications, you've got an E3 which is managing my compressors and my condenser and the site supervisor as well. You've got the high pressure controller which is controlling the high pressure and the bypass valve. And then you've got your case controllers controlling your low temp and medium temp evaporator. So just knowing, how that system lays out, how, each part of the system controls its own part, just so you kind of know that, kind of get into the other parts of the pieces. So we've got the multiplex board, which is our I/O. It talks I/O net. So you'll need a communication port dedicated for the I/O net. You got the iPro high pressure valve controller, the XM case controllers, 678, 679s, which talk Modbus. You've got the CC200, that's a newer case controller that we've got. It can talk Modbus or backnet. And then you've got leak detection, so we've got the MRLDSs. We also have some RLDSs. I'll show you all of our leak detection. Those talk Modbus. And then you've got the EVM, the EVH variable speed drives, which talk Modbus or backnet. So making sure when you're laying out your network, that's probably one of the most important pieces to get everything communicating. Which COM ports, making sure things are set up on the right baud rates, setting up your address, and laying out those COM networks is really important. This is all the devices you'll need for CO2 transcritical rack. So this is just kind of to give you a quick reference between E2 and E3. So these are all my E2 models going down the side, the old models, the RXs, BX, CXs. Across the top is the corresponding E3 or site supervisor model. And you'll see we've added a couple of new ones. Mainly the service replacement you'll see on the far right. So that one controller would fit the application for every application. So it has the max applications loaded for every controller. So if you want one to keep on your truck as a spare or a backup, I would get the service replacement. That way, it doesn't matter if you have a BX, RX, or CX, whatever you may have in the system, you get it tested. So next we're going to kind of talk about some of the software differences and additions we made to E3 versus the E2 system. So faster response, we talked about that. You can text or email directly out of the controller. We set up like that. Set up prioritized alarms. You can do custom alarms. You can do, we'll get into that in just a little bit. You can create floor plans, rack graphics, things like that you can have on the controller. So that means whenever you walk into the controller, you hit your home screen, or you can hit, another screen that takes you to all your layouts. And I've got some examples of those in the back from our system. But you guys can view the floor plan. You can kind of see what all your cases are doing through a graphical format. You also can see your rack format. You can have your piping layout. Your system kind of see how things are performing out. Consistent application views. As you create new applications in the E3, it creates what we call a system tile screen and a summary screen for every device. They all look exactly the same. So it gives you a consistent view, and it automatically builds trends and graphs for you automatically with every application depending on what's set up as default. But it's to make it a lot easier when you're kind of laying out, looking at your system in the E2 world, especially with like third-party integrations, or say we had a new controller, case control, or something like that. Everything didn't always look the same. You could go into setup, now just like you have with E2 or E3, you go to the setup screen and you have the same tabs across the top, your general, your setup, your input tab. So everything stays in that same format. It gives you some new functions. Aggregating devices, we talked about that. You want to aggregate multiple controllers into one. Intuitive navigation interface with graphic screen. You actually can view graphics. You can zoom in and you can pull a graph from the last hour. You don't have to kind of go and create special logs and graphs. You can pull the last 4 hours, 8 hours, whatever it takes really quickly. You can export those. You can print them. You can email them. You can export them to the CSV file directly on the controller. Increased user security. So we've added unlimited number of users in the controller with multiple levels. So each user can have its own view, can have its own access to be able to edit, program. Maybe a level 1 can only view the system. Maybe level 2 can only change default schedules or set limits. Level 3 can actually do, set up or adjust programs. Or level 4, you can have multiple levels within your organization. So each user needs its own profile. You don't have user paths like you used to have on the E2. A little bit more security there. You have to have an 8-character password. So we've added that. Added a lot more functionality with that. Every user can have his own view. So, if you want your home screen to be the alarm screen or floor plan graphic, it could be. If you want your home screen to be, maybe the RX layout and the RX E2, you can make it look like that. An increase in network functionality and security, that's basically IT. So each one of our Ethernet ports is isolated. So you can't get into one network through another IP connection or Ethernet connection. We've been through several levels of different companies' ITs. Everything's passed, so we've gone through a lot of, changes just to make sure that's a lot more secure when people put it on the network. Built-in web server, like I said, no additional software needed. We've created what we call new CO2 suction groups for CO2 applications. We'll get into those a little bit in just a minute. And then intuitive programming. So if you ever read Road or kind of read flexible liners in the E2, they're kind of hard to read, hard to write. We've made those a lot more intuitive, a lot easier to write in E3. So we can kind of get into that a lot deeper, but just let you know that it made some advances. So So we'll kind of start across the top, navigating, and then I do have a E3 navigation class for the hands-on on Thursday, where you'll be able to connect your phone up to one and go through all these menus. We'll kind of go through them one by one, but the navigation, the tabs across the top is your main accessibility input controller. So you've got the gear system settings. That's where you go set up your IPs, your command things like that. Set up your logging, how often you want to log things in the controller, what devices you want to log, things like that. Setting up your user profiles, your user security. The home screen, like I said, the home screen could be any screen you want. Customize them for each person. Site inventory. So site inventory is the box. So that's where you go create and add your device. I got an application controller. I just go in there and select add controller. It'll give you a list of all the controllers I can add. You just pick it, add one. I need to add a multiplex board, an IO board. I need to add a BMP drive, or say I've got a third-party integration device I can add. That's what I'm going to go add those devices. Also from that screen, when you're adding devices, it'll also give you a list of everything that's been created in that device. Schedules, so you see the little calendar, that's where I would go set up my time and day schedules, like the case lighting, HVAC, things like that, store items. The squiggly line beside the calendar, that's where I would get my graphics and my floor plans, whatever I've got loaded on the controller. Like I said, I'll show you a couple of examples of what I've built. You can build these yourself. You can build these and load them into your controller, so there's a way you just kind of do that. But you can kind of create your own view inside the controller. Inputs and outputs, so the last one on the right, that button will take you to all your inputs and outputs in the system. So it's kind of like hitting all time, and also on the E2, you can view all your inputs. It'll actually tell you what the actual value of that controller is, what board and point it goes to. It'll also give you the ability to trend it or graph it directly from that IO screen. And then on the most important thing on the far right, it'll tell you what that IO is and what applications it's pointing to. So if it's pointing to a suction group or a condenser group, it'll actually give you the application that's pointing to. And that application is actually a intuitive link that you can click on and it'll take you right to the application. So from that application, I can trend, I can go to the IO board configuration from that one screen, or I can go to the application that so, a lot of flexibility. You'll use that screen a whole lot. That's probably one I use most. Up on the top right, you'll see the question mark. That's my help button. So that help button works a couple of different ways. If I'm in an application, if I'm in a condenser group application or a circuit application, and I hit that help button, it'll open up the manual in that application that I'm opening up that I'm working in. So it'll give me all the specifics of that application. If I just hit it from this home screen without having an application open up, it'll just open up a table of contents, and it's basically the whole manual is loaded in the controller. So you can view everything in there that way. You've got the red bell, that's my alarm. It'll give you a number out the side of it if I have an active alarm. So like this one has 5 active alarms. Log out screen is at the top. Other applications that you're in, it will give you some other little buttons that pop up here. Like if you're in a circuit application, there'll be a button on here to hit emergency default. So it picks up an emergency default. Some of them will give you different, like on a case controller, if you want to disable the display on the case controller, you can do that. On the bottom right of the screen, it'll tell you what model controller you've got, what version of firmware you're running, and the time and date. It'll also give you little arrows telling you if you're connected to a network. So you'll see right here, if I'm connected, it'll show me green lights here. If I'm not connected to something, it will not. And then on the bottom left, we've added a new feature that'll tell you You can have up to 10 people logged onto the controller at one time through the web-based interface. You can limit that as well, but now it'll tell you on the latest firmware who's logged on, so you can actually see which users are also maybe logged on the controller at the same time. A couple other new features we've added is a graphical default summary. So from one screen, you can see all of my default schedules for all my circuits and cases. Make sure things don't overlap. I actually could open up the circuit in the case from there, and I could change, how many numbers of defaults I'm doing a day, what type of default it may be. I could change my schedules. So you can edit them as well from the screen. It gives you a lot of functionality there. The graphical schedule on the top right, that's gives you the same layout for my time of day schedules. So you can actually see the bar, when it's supposed to start, when it's supposed to stop. It actually works on the calendar there. Example here, I can see my security lights from a store are on from midnight till 8 a.m. Then at 8 a.m. security lights come on. My HVAC self up, whatever the application may be. And I can click as well for the time of day schedule. I can copy the time of day schedule, I can edit it, or delete them all from that one screen. So if I needed to quickly change the time, I could just click on the ball, start it 30 minutes earlier, run it 30 minutes later, or whatever time I could add holiday schedules in there. We turn things off to the time. Maybe a store or something may be closed. They don't need lights. A lot of functionality is a lot easier than it was at E2. File management, that's probably the screen you'll probably use the most. This is where I can do all my backups, my restores, hardware updates. I actually can view all of my applications. So it'll give me a list for that basic controller because of RX 300 or 400 may have a different number of applications in the controller versus a VX or CX. So this will tell me how many applications or what applications are already preloaded in this controller. It'll tell me how many I have available. So like instant case control, it'll tell me if I've created 40, I can have up to 99 in the controller. So it'll tell me 40 of 99 to use. So it'll tell me how many more I can have added. It'll also tell me what revision it's running. If I've added a third-party device, I get a license, or I've added a license, this is where we go add a license feature. It'll actually give you the license number out to the right of it. So you actually can track everything in your controller from that one screen. And you'll notice a couple of things, like on the top right of that screen. If you plug in a USB, it will actually show you that you've got a USB plugged up. If you don't have one plugged into one of the USB ports, that won't appear. Same thing with an SD memory card. It has a slot for an SD memory card in the door. So you can store and back up things in that SD card. It'll give you more logging capabilities. I think that's kind of everything. We have a feature file license if something needs to be upgraded or changed. So if a controller needed to change a type or something like that, we could do a feature file upload. And then we've got the site inventory tab. So the site inventory is kind of like hitting in. It'll give you a network. It'll show me everything that's connected to the controller. It'll tell me what, across your tabs here, it'll tell me the application. It'll tell me, what COM port it's on. What the communication protocol is, whether it's Modbus, SNAP, over IP, MSTP, whatever it may be. It will also give me the revision of software that's running and the physical address. So you've got 30 different Modbus devices that will give me what Modbus addresses are there, what COM port is connected to, all those things like that. I can actually link to the controller directly. These are all hyperlinks. So, if something's not online or an alarm condition, I can connect those. I can edit them if I need to change COM ports. I can do that from here too. If I need to move it to a different COM port. Maybe a COM port or something like that, or you want to switch things around, you can do that on the next side. We talked a little bit about alarms, how you can kind of build your own alarms. So what we've added is a new feature called smart alarms. And a lot of these are, some of these are pre-built, and then some you can actually customize them yourself. So we have user-defined messages where you can add, you know, an explanation of what causes them. Maybe possible causes. You know, what maybe causes to fail, and then suggested action. So you want to go and say, hey, go check this transducer, go check this filter sensor. You know, maybe go check, maybe you just label in here where the power is. Maybe what makes it in or what breaks it down, things like that. You can customize. It'll tell you when the alarm was created, what type of alarm it is, whether it's critical, non-critical, the time it occurred, how old it is, what unit it's going to break. If you've got multiple units, it'll tell me what unit controller is going to break. It'll tell me the unit name or whatever the controller name is, the device type, the device or and then it'll tell me the originator. What application created this? This was from my condenser AS, pressure control input. So it'll give me a list of the explanation of what and if I want to go to that originator that created the alarm, I can click on it right from that screen and it will take me to that application. Yes.
On the alarms, can I parse the alarms? Can I have one set of alarms email person A, another set of alarms email person B, and maybe a third one email person A and B or something like that? Can you do that?
Yeah, so when you set up your users, you need a place to set it. Whether how you use the connect or whether it's email or text or whatever, you need to assign whatever alarm or whatever. It's real easy to do. And then you also can do it in our intercom solution with Connect Plus. It's a little bit different on principal sites. So they might have, you know, the sites in the northeast going to a certain type of traffic, these one of theirs, and everything. And then, like I told you, these system status screens are these screens. So every screen looks just the same, but they're all customizable to you as a user. So it'll give me a list of actual points that I'm monitoring. And again, I could hit the red here, I could expand that, I could add more there. I can make that list as long as I want it, or as short as I want it, based off what you want to see in the system or the application. You'll see the tabs across the top, the general list of points, just like you had in the E2. You just have to hit the next screen, the previous screen. You just touch these now, it goes to that application. Edit, advance, like I said, you can hit, you know, once you go into these setup screens, you can lock them out. You can, certain people don't have visibility or set up. And then every application has a default points that it trims here. So you can actually really quickly pull up the data, see what's been going on with the system, easier for troubleshooting. I can hit the show select button. Like I said, I can pull up the last 1 hour, 4 hours, 8 hours, 2 days, 5 days, 1 week. Or you can set a custom over here, grab the full trims and alarms from 4 months ago. I can pull that data. The E3, depending on how you set up your alarms, they hold up to 12 months of data. So you can just sort those alarms in the controller. And then you can do the points view. If I want to add or subtract here, if I want to add more points here, I can add those. You also can bring in points from other applications. So yeah, this is looking at a suction group for my medium temp suction group. So say I want to look at something on my gas cooler outlet temperature or my fan speed, I could go to another application and bring it into this graph for that. So a lot of flexibility there. Just hitting the points view is where you go add or subtract points. Options, you hit the options button. That'll drop you down. That's where you want to go email, text, or download the file. You also can click real time. So when you're looking at these, this is your log data. If I want to go to real live time data of that controller, for like a really troubleshooting and trying to figure out exactly what's going on with this case during the I can click the real time button and it'll give you the real time values. We've added another feature in here right now for circuit control. This is called voltage meter. So this will actually tell me how my circuit is performing, how my case is performing. I can customize and set up these profiles for, kind of what I want my parameters and what my guidelines are for my store. But I can tell if I overshot, how many times I overshot or undershot set point, and for how long. How many it'll tell me a percentage of time I was in set point, how much of the time I overshot or undershot. So that way you can quickly, from the screen on the left, kind of see what's going on with the system. So you can actually see if I full recovery after defrost. So it's looking at all the sensors to kind of see what's going on with the system. So, Tim, if you was to look at this screen right here, I pull up all of my circuits on one screen. Can you see a problem with one circuit?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. So one circuit, so really quickly, if you're there doing,